Did you guys really sit in silence and not talk to each other, waiting for me?
Waiting for me.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Hold on a second. Maybe trying to get you guys to connect with each other. All right. Good morning, everyone. Oh, you meditate before class, so I like that. All right. Hi, Dr. Howe. Thank you. All right. So we're into class 3 of this investigation. First of all, how is everybody? Yeah. Roxana's like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. All right. And I do like to see your pretty faces. So if you want to share your pretty face, we got 50 out of 88. That's not bad. There you go. Hi, Francisco. You have to take a little shower there, fix your hair up. Okay, so we're in. So where we are in this, I was thinking about the classes, right? And we're in this space of describing, we were just finishing up describing beings that live in realms that we can't see. Well, we were already there. We were talking about, formless realm, form realm, like how to get there. How do we get there? You guys remember how like, these, whatever these beings are like that we can't perceive, living in these wonderful paradises, samsaric paradises, but great places. How do you guys remember how we get there?
We get there mainly in meditation.
Yes, mainly. Well, you don't get there in meditation. Let's be more specific.
As a result of our meditations.
There you go. Okay, good. Right. So if your meditation is so good and so subtle, and you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, withdrawing all the senses, withdrawing without thinking about emptiness and compassion, basically, then you're creating the causes for those kinds of realms to show up. That's all. So in a lot of ways, if you're not meditating, you don't have to worry about this problem. Okay. All right. Unless you're meditating all the time, regularly, and you're at a lot of meditation, and you withdraw from the world. Okay. But I would say, if you're not even meditating at all, you don't have to worry about this problem. Okay. Or if you're just meditating a little bit, maybe a little, maybe if you got lucky. But generally, unless you have a really consistent, more than 1 hour a day meditation practice, which you would use to see emptiness directly anyway. Desmond, thank you. That's the main problem. Desmond says in the chat, but the problem's there even if we don't meditate. Well, I read your message wrong. I read it as the problem is that you don't meditate. But the problem is still there. You're correct. Like there are beings who can live in those realms. Right. And they do. Right. So we were going through all of that. And I think if I'm not, I believe we didn't finish one thing. What did I not finish? Oh, I didn't cover one question from last. Hold on a second here. Right. Okay. Okay. So the one thing we didn't talk about is there's this sort of in between. We've talked about the different ways different kind of births you could take, but this sort of in between being like, what happens when you're between death and birth? Like, is that a kind of birth? Is that a kind of being? Okay. Is that a kind of birth that one takes? So the answer is no. It's really simple. Like the in-between is just an in-between. It's not considered in the Abhidharma system, it's not considered another place that you get born in. It's not, it's just sort of it's an in-between. Just call it they call them Bardo beings. And they do say that when someone does die, and this is important, that when someone does die, and before they've moved on to their next rebirth, you can still communicate with them. They can hear you, right? And it's really powerful as someone is dying, and even afterwards, is to remind them of the good things they've done. Especially as people are approaching the end of their life. And I was thinking about this, I was thinking about it like the first person close to me who passed on was my mom's father, my grandfather. And he was 88, 89, something like that. He was quite old at that point. And the last time he came to visit, he was walking around with an oxygen machine, right? He was not very mobile. He had severe lung problems. He had emphysema, which is it emphysema? Yeah, he had a severe lung disease. And he just like near the end of his life, he just got nicer and nicer. It was this really interesting thing to watch. He was I learned some really nasty insults from him. He was quite the he had a very had a very colorful vocabulary. He was also extremely racist and bigoted individual. So it was I learned words that I didn't know what they meant, but I felt what they meant. Right. And a lot of it, it was interesting how certain ideas pervaded through generations, right? And how certain ideas about people and races and things like that just died out from between the generations, how quickly. But near the end of his life, he got really nice. Like he stopped saying those things. Like he stopped saying unrepeatable things. I can hear them still in my head, but I will never repeat them. I mean, I would never even say any of those words. And it was this weird moment. We were sitting in my parents' house in their living room. And he was sitting there. He was just sort of slumped in the chair, right? He was kind of like, just sitting there, and he had his oxygen, and, his breath was really short. I must have been 16 or 17. And he asked me to come on over, and he just started talking to me about just life in general. And then he started crying, and he said, it was this sentence. I didn't understand what it meant at the time, because I felt weird about it. But he said, Tim, you're the best grandson a grandfather could ever ask for. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, to me, like I'm 16, 17. I'm like, what are you like? What? Like, what? Like, it was just like a what kind of statement, like to receive a compliment. My family does not share positive feelings. Okay. We share positive feelings through some actions in some way, through giving. Giving's a big thing. But to say the words, right? To say the nice things, to say that you care, to express love through words. That's a foreign concept to me. But I thought about it for a long time. Like, what the hell is he talking about? And then I just was like, no, he's just sharing positive things, because he had stopped all the negative and he was rejoicing in all the positives before he died. Right. And he took care of my grandmother. My grandmother was a raging alcoholic. Okay. She was she was a difficult person in many ways. And as he was getting ready to pass on, like, it was clear he was stating, she started talking about, hey, I'm going to drive it. She hadn't driven a car since my mom was 16. The moment my mom got her driver's license, my mom's the youngest, mom was like, nope. Or grandma was like, nope, no driving anymore. So from what, 40 until 75, something like that, 35, however old she was. Like, she didn't drive. My grandmother was a terrible driver. She only made right-hand turns. To get anywhere, she would only turn right. Get it? Like, it would take her forever to get places. Eventually you'd get there, right? But she was talking about driving again. She was talking about all these things, and grandpa knew that she wasn't capable of it. She hadn't driven for 40 years. And he also knew how much alcohol she consumed during the whole day. It wasn't like, grandma would have a beer at lunch. She was a trooper. I mean, she was a consumer. But he took care of her. Like, he took care of every little detail, every single little detail. It created a whole bunch of shit afterwards, but Tim got the car, right? We took the car away from grandma, like, all these things, like, it was signed away. It was already, it was because she was a danger to herself and other people, and all the little details were all taken care of. And once they were taken care of, then he died. Right. It was this thing where he held on for days, waiting until all the details, they had to take grandma out of the house. They had to take her shopping. They had to do all of these things. So she wasn't there. And it was deceptive, but it was also compassionate. But yeah, he spent the last part of his life, I think, making up for the bad deeds he had done in his life. Right. So why we're talking about this, because that's like getting ourselves ready for death can, as you purify the things you've done, like the things you said, the things you may have thought about other people, like when people are getting close, help them remember their good deeds. Okay. And quite honestly, the more you think about this, the more you spend time with this, the more you just stop behaving in certain ways in your own life. Like, don't wait until you're on your deathbed to start purifying. All right. Don't wait until you're on your deathbed to start being a nice person. Like, don't wait until you get there. Like most conflict in my life, the conflict in my life has reduced significantly because I just don't want to, I just not worth it. It's not worth the energy. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the emotional aspect of it. And I'm like, oh, okay, you're right. The easiest way to get out of an argument is just tell someone they're right. Now, if they want to keep fighting, okay. But I've seen examples of this over and over again. Just let people win. Like, it doesn't matter. As long as they're not hurting people, with their side. So that's a way to prepare, because then you're not wasting your time on stuff that doesn't matter anyway. The argument you had with, I was looking for a friend of mine last week on social media. I was trying to find them, an ex-friend, let's say, and a friend, ex-friend, and we were really good friends in graduate school. And she was always, we were really, really good friends, but there was always a little something, right? There was an energy, right? And then after she had broken up with her boyfriend, and I was the best friend, right? Okay, here's the normal story, right? I was the best friend, the other person breaks up with the boyfriend or the partner, right? And I was like, well, how long do I, this is like, this is the stupid things that go through humans' minds. How long do I wait before I ask her out? Do I ask her out the next day? Do I ask her out in a month? She's still crying every day about this boy that, whatever, And there was one moment, right? But I didn't act, right? The one moment, like, you regret the one moment, right? I didn't act in the one moment, and I was just encouraging her to go meet people, which was the dumbest thing you could do, right? Or maybe it was the nicest thing, I don't know. She met some dude, right? They started going out. And I was like, oh, it's just kind of an interim thing. Then she started whining about him to me. Like, then I became the best friend again about why her boyfriend was blah, 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 right? Yeah, okay. And it was really hard, of course, right? Because I'm like, well, I have all these feelings and we get along really well, blah, blah, blah. And you have this. Anyway, the whole point was we ended up losing our friendship because I said some things to her. I did finally tell her how I felt. And she's like, oh, I feel the same. And I'm like, oh, good. All right, great. Well, then, let's make this work. No, well, I'm dating, I can't even remember the guy's name. I remember our nickname for him. I'm not going to repeat it. Not ours, but like me and my other friends. But she was like, no, I'm dating him. I want to be with him. I'm like, well, that kind of hurts. So I kind of dealt with that. Then all of a sudden, she's still crying about him. And then she decided she wanted to get married to him. And I was like, okay, great. That makes a lot of sense. All right, I guess I'll support you. And then I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, this doesn't, it was just too intense for me to and my best friend, my best friend at the time said, Tim, you're under no obligation to go to engagement parties and do any of this stuff. You don't have to do any of that. And for some reason, I thought I had to. So I kind of took some distance from the whole thing, and she got upset with me because I was no longer giving her all the attention she wanted. it was this whole disaster. Anyway, the point is the way we left it was I told her what I thought. I said, look, as your friend, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, nothing's going right in this relationship and you want to get married. I think you need to reconsider this. That didn't go over well, of course. And then we just stopped hanging out. And about 6 months later, we ran into each other at a nightclub. This was way before I went to nightclubs and didn't drink. Okay. Just so you know, just so you can get the flavor, right? I love going dancing. I love going out and all that. But that was a time where I did all that plus add a couple drinks on top of it. All right. She had a couple drinks. All of a sudden, we're like sitting next to each other in this loud club. All of our friends, right, are watching this scenario unfold. And she said, it really hurt me. She was really nasty. She was like, it really hurt me when you said all those things. And me, instead of just saying, yeah, I know that probably hurt, I said, I don't care if it hurt you. Okay. I was telling you the truth because I was hurt, right? And I wanted to be recognized, right? I was hurt. And so that, of course, was the end of everything. I lost touch with her. And I was thinking about it last week as I'm preparing this class. So this is a long story. Okay. To tell you, I regret how I handled that. Right. I regret how yes, I was young, and yes, I didn't understand how to communicate. And yes, I didn't understand, I didn't have the skills to be able to say, well, this is how I feel. Okay, this hurts. All right, well, you're hurting too. Okay, well, we can be adults about it. But I really feel bad that I said all those things. And the funny thing is I did care about how she felt. That's the thing. Of course I cared about what I said. And I was looking for her to find out how she was doing. Hopefully, by the way, all right, I called him Doofus. This is a great word in English for you, for translators. Okay. I nicknamed him Doofus. Okay. Just sort of means like a goofy idiot. All right. I just want to I hope it worked out with her. And I really wish I knew his name. This is the part I'm trying to purify. I want to I hope it worked out. They got married, they probably had some children. I hope it all worked out. And I want to find out what's going on for her. And then I started thinking, I'm like, why would I think that she's still alive? Okay, this is the course, right? This is our course, right? I'm looking for someone to apologize to who could be dead, right? Could have not, it's been a long time, 20 plus years, right? Used to be on social media. I can't find them anymore. So, so when we're I don't want to be thinking in 20 years that I have to call and apologize to somebody. 20 years, 30, 45, 6 months, next month, you never know. This is the point of the class, right? You never know. I could be in a hospital bed in a month, dying next month. Let's hope that doesn't happen, right? Will I be regretting things? Will I be thinking about what I didn't do versus all the good things that I did do? Right. And, someone's arguing with you, someone's giving you a hard time, it's usually probably not about you at all anyway. It's probably about something else. It's probably about something they're suffering with, or they're dealing with, or they're insecure or upset, or they're sick, or there's a whole billion different things of why they're yelling at you or giving you crap. You see. So do you want, do you want to be running around when you're 88 with your, oxygen, regretting all this shitty things you said about everybody, and then trying to make amends for it in the last year of your life? Or, okay, here's the or. Just do it now. Right? Stop. We had a big directors meeting yesterday, and you could see people, like, everyone trying to get what they want, and like, we want this, we want that, and it's like, just give the people what they want. Like, I've seen my teacher, to stop an argument, will just give people what they want, regardless of how ridiculous it is. Oh, you want more money? Okay, here, I'll double your salary. What? This person is the meanest person ever. It shut them up. It stopped the argument. It stopped the anger. It stopped all the things that are worse than giving them more money. Plus, giving money does not create negative people anyway, right? But just give, within reason. I'm not saying don't have boundaries. Okay, it's not what I'm saying. But if it doesn't change anything, and it really doesn't, like, just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. By the way, it's the great way. It's a great leadership technique. It plants seeds for leadership if you're looking. All right. If you want to be a leader, like, help people get what they want. Oh, they're upset with you? Oh, okay. Well, here, you can work on that. You can do that. Why don't you do that? I'll support you in that. Right. And I don't mean that facetiously, and I don't mean that flippantly. I don't mean that, like, dismissively. Right. It's genuine support. I don't go to bed and worry about very much. Right. Literally, people will say, Tim, thanks for saying that thing today, or thanks for, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Why? Because I don't have to remember things that I said that were true. I don't have to fill my head up with things that are true. Right? You only have to remember things that you lied about. Right? It's not completely true. And Cornelia is like, no, Tim, yes, I have not remembered things that were special to other people. They're like, oh, no, it's our, not, I can't think of a good example, but but really, like, if you say it's true, you don't have to worry about the consequences of it. If you say nice things, you don't have to worry about, if you create resolution, you don't have to worry about, like, frankly, I don't remember most of the things that happened in the meeting yesterday, other than the few action items, and then I walked away from it. Right? Because I was just like, okay, you can do that. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do that. And that's, I don't even remember what they were upset about. Does that mean I don't care? No, that's not what I'm saying. I do care. Right? But I don't have to worry about the, I took care in the situation, you see. So a couple of questions here. So as someone is dying, yes, help them let go of all this stuff. Okay. Help them let go. Like, get them to think about the positives, because you don't want to carry those things in. Because as you transition, if you carry some of those things in, then those things could become the throwing karma for the next life. If you guys remember that from ACI 5. That could be the next projecting karma for your next life, right? And it's weird how it happens. Right? So if you're such a great meditator, then all of a sudden you're like, probably near the end of life, you're just meditating, right? You're just like, oh, my body's dying, whatever, but you're not even perceiving so much of it. And then you're in that space. And then when you do die, the next thing that asserts itself, right, is the form realm or the formless realm, right? That's the seeds you have that are ripening in that moment, right? But if you die angry, like, or even things like simple things like making sure that someone's comfortable, they're not too hot, they're not too cold. Like if someone's too cold and they're craving heat, what do you think is going to happen next? Maybe they want heat, they're craving. So some kind of craving is going to show up. We'll talk about that a little bit later in this class. So as you can see, like there is a very, very deep importance to be ready to pass on, to have all of your, we say in English, have all your ducks in order, right? Have all your seeds in order. Because you never know what's going to come out. Like even if you are a great practitioner, right? And you have all these seeds, sometimes weird stuff just happens, right? And then you'll learn how to practice, how to say this, you'll learn how to go through the death process with awareness so you can have a little bit more control of it. Control is not the right word, but you can do things through the death process that normally is it's just usually an unaware moment. Like all the ways that Buddhism describes what happens in the death process, we've actually heard them in other places, like people who have had near-death experiences. The things that they describe are nearly identical to what's described in the ancient texts. It's really cool. I mean, cool in a, death is not cool, but it's, it's neat to see overlaps, right? So in that process, so the in-between being, right, this sort of in-between life, and it depends what viewpoint we're taking, but typically, I'm sorry, Yashen, there's not much you can do for a Bardo being, but mainly talking to them. Like that's what I said, like mainly talking to them about their good deeds. Because if they have some attachment or they can hear you, the weird thing about Bardo beings is they can just travel wherever they want. Like there's sort of they can go wherever their thought takes them. But I would keep talking to them, remind them, because you can potentially activate some good seeds. Right? And it can be, and the Abhidharma says that they can stay in the Bardo for up to 49 days. Okay. That's the Abhidharma viewpoint. We'll talk more about that later. Okay. Here we go. Now we're actually in class 3. Now that we kind of talked about the sort of like formless realm, right? What about, that's not my slides. Hold on. Okay. That was just a mistake. All right. So this next class comes from a text for $10. Read this out loud. Turn on your microphone.
Tenrim Shenmo.
Who is that?
Teresa.
Nice. Tenrim Chemo, right? So this is a lam rim that was written before for another $10. Okay. I'm a little poor today. For another $10. This was a lam rim written before the greatest lam rim ever written. And what was that?
Lamrin Kimmo.
How many of you cheated and looked at the homework? Anna? Okay, just checking. All right. Yes. So Anna got it first in the chat. So Anna gets $10. Teresa gets another $10. Send me your PayPals. No, it's not the only lam rim you know. You've come to Diamond Mountain. You just don't know the name of it. Okay. Does anyone know the name of the lam rim that we're studying in our lam rim series in Tibet?
Yes.
Oh,
Is
great.
in the palm of your hands, no?
Yes, it's liberation thrust into the palm of your hands. That's correct. But I was asking for the Tibetan. Does anyone know the Tibetan for it? Whomever that was, you get $10 too. Send me your PayPal. Because I didn't specify Tibetan or English. What's the Tibetan for the lam rim we're studying? That's nice. Just lam rim. That's good. No. Does anyone know the word for palm? All right. That's your homework. You guys have to figure out for next class the name of the lam rim that we're studying. That's starting in 5 days in Guadalajara, Mexico. I want the QR code at the end of class. Okay. All right. Liberation thrust into the palm of your hand. It's a great title, right? Someone's putting it into your hand. So why are we talking about this? Let's go back to the real stuff. So this teaching about, so we're going to be talking about, we're now going from, we were going upwards, if upwards is the right direction. I don't know if we want to call it directions, but to the realm of the formless and to the realm of the form, right? Now we're going to the realm of the pretas, of the craving spirits and animals, okay? And so this comes from the Temrim Chemo. And the author is Kadampa Geshe Drong Lumpa. And you can look that up in the reading, all right? What's the relationship between the Tenrim Chemo and the Lamrim Chemo?
One is the synthesis of the other.
No, nope. It was let's do some investigation. Tenrim Chemo was written somewhere in the 11th or 12th century. Okay. So let's put that at what? The first part of the 12th century is what? 1310? The Tenrim Chemo? Is that what you're asking for, Flavia? Oops. Close. So when was the Lamrim Chemo written? Come on, guys. Turn on your brains. I'm the only one sitting here at 6 in the morning. Okay.
Is the second lamrim a commentary on the first one?
No, you're getting closer. So
A
when,
clarification?
nope.
I don't know.
So it was written, Lamrim Chema was written afterwards by Jason Kappa. What's his dates? For $5 in the chat. Hurry up. 3, 2, 1. Oh, good job. Okay, Luisa got it on my side. The only ones you have to know, just know them. See, Flavia almost cheated because she was like, I'm not even going to type the dash. She tried to type it faster. The N dash, not the M dash. Those are people's passwords and PIN numbers. Just so if you want to steal someone's phone, typically those are the passwords. Right. So he was 1357 to 1419. So that was afterwards, and it was an inspiration. It was the basis. Okay. It wasn't a commentary. It was the basis that then Jason Kappa used to write his masterpiece. That's the relationship. That's not that interesting to many of you. Let's talk about something else. So what is it that, okay, so we talked about what are the causes that take us to the form and formless realm, right? Right, Mark, exactly. The passcode to get into today's class was 1357. If you can't figure out the passcode for any ACI event, if you don't know, it's always going to be 1357. All right. Just memorize that. And if you can't remember it, then never mind. Bad joke. So what are the causes that take you into the craving spirit realm? All right. You know, we're talking about this all from the point of view of a human, right? The point of view of us right now. Why are we talking about us right now? Right? We're talking about where could we go? Where are all the beautiful or non-beautiful places that we could go? Okay. So what are some of the causes that take us into a craving spirit point of view? All right. I couldn't find the 10 non-virtues, so I found this sign of some of the 10 commandments. So the idea here is the 10 non-virtues: no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, no meaningless speech, no harsh speech, no divisive speech, not coveting, right? Not being jealous of others, no ill will, and wrong worldview. Okay. So the way to get into a craving spirit body, this is what the text says, all right? Just giving it to you, is doing those 10 bad deeds with a medium degree of seriousness. Okay. Well, what the hell does medium degree of seriousness mean? Okay. What is it between? Like, what is a medium degree of seriousness between? Well, it's between light and heavy. Okay. What does it mean to do a deed lightly? And what does it mean to do a deed heavily? You should be asking. Okay. So the definitions are, here we go. A light way of doing it is kind of just breaking them minorly, a little bit. Okay. And a heavy way of doing it is like you are premeditating, you are intending to do it, you took a long time to prepare a weapon, you've had hatred for a long time, something like that, right? So if you are planning on lying for a really, really long time, or you're planning on killing someone for a long time, like you figure out how you're going to get rid of the body so no one ever finds it, et cetera, like that's a heavy, right? Light is just you're doing it in a minor way. I don't know, like white lies. Like it's not really a lie, but kind of a lie. Or what's a light way to kill somebody? There's probably no light way to kill somebody. Okay. So don't even think about it. But a light way would be, now I wouldn't even say accidentally. I would say like a light way would be, I don't know, this morning when I got in the shower, there was a cockroach in the shower, right? Not checking, like for me, I typically will check the shower for bugs and spiders before I get into it, right? So they don't wash down the drain, right? I normally don't do it in my house here because I don't usually have bugs in my house. When I was on retreat and I was in the outside shower, I was always checking for like the little moths and the little bugs to make sure they weren't going to be washed down the drain, right? Not checking for bugs that could wash down the drain, or not wearing your seatbelt in the car could be a light way of breaking that vow. Like you're putting yourself in danger. You're putting others in danger. Or like, oh, I only had one beer tonight, so I can drive home. Right? That's kind of potentially putting people at risk, right?
Would that also include just like being mindlessly doing it with, without any thought at all? Not quite accidental, but just maybe just not even just caring?
Probably. I think so. I mean, just a light, like it's just sort of, you're just doing things, but you're not really aware of what you're doing, right? You're not really stealing. You're not really killing. You're not really stealing other people's partners. But you're sitting at the cafe and you're just like oogling of all the beautiful people that walk by, right? You're just putting that energy out, right? Yesterday I was at at a cafe and someone had a tattoo that said 1982 on their arm. And I was like, oh, what does that mean? And she said, that was the year my mom was born. And I was like, oh God. I was like, I could be your dad too. All right, bye. It was so funny. I wasn't flirting. I was just asking. But I was like, oh my God, I'm like, I could be your dad. Like, because I didn't feel that. Like, I didn't feel that energy, right? It just was. Anyway. But then I started thinking, I'm like, why does she have a tattoo of her mom on her arm and of her mom's birth year? Then I was like, oh God, maybe her mom died. Right. Again, like being involved in these courses, like just gets your mind in this sense. So breaking those 10 non-virtues with a medium intensity, not light, not heavy, not premeditated, but more than absent-mindedly. Okay. That's what takes you to a craving spirit. That's the general cause. All right. So this is why it's probably a good idea to keep those 10 non-virtues really well. What are some of the more specific causes? All right. This is kind of, to me, this is really interesting. And the main thing is that you don't give the 3 kinds of giving. Okay. You're not generous. Right? Because the way we translate preta as craving spirit, right? So the idea is that the main cause to become a being who's craving, right? And the thing about craving spirits, we'll talk about in a second. What do they crave for? Like, what is their like what is their beef? Like, what is their life like? Like, what's their issue? Right? Their issue is they can't get anything that they want ever. Right? And we'll talk about it in a second. So it makes sense if you're a being who's not able to get things, like if you're always like, you have a huge stomach, right? And then a really, really tiny mouth that you can't shove any food into. So you're always hungry. Or that you see water off in the distance, but every time you run, when you get to it, like it turns into, it's not water, it's like pus and blood, okay? Or that when you do drink and eat, it actually burns the inside of your body or something like that, right? So the idea is that these beings, actually in the Lamrim that we're studying currently, there's an example of one of the forms of a craving spirit is a broom. It's kind of cool. I don't know what the cause for that one is, but you can become a broom. I always thought that was funny. But the idea is that there's these beings who just crave a broom, like a thing that a broom, right? That's why I thought it was funny too. Like there's some kind of attachment. I know, I know, Sharon. I did the same thing. I don't know, maybe there's a spirit inside a broom. I mean, we've talked about haunted houses, right? Objects I get, I don't know. It's the point is that if you crave something, it flies, something like that. But the point is that if you crave things so much, then, and you're not generous, then you're just going to carry that desire in, and then you're going to create a being that just wants. All right. And it's not fun at all. So the main cause is not doing the three kinds of giving. So this gives us an opportunity to talk about the three kinds of giving, which is it's really cool to think of it this way. First thing is giving material things, just giving stuff that people need. All right. Where is it? Right. Just giving people, like if people need shelter, if they need clothing, if they need money, if they need, anything that they need, and you have extra of, give it. Right. Don't get stingy with it. Right. This is also incidentally the way that you create more things in your life. Duh. Right. We've talked about this a million times. Like, give what you have. Don't give in a way that hurts yourself, of course. But that's the main idea of giving, is it prevents you from becoming attached to the things that you have. The second kind of giving it's called giving freedom from fear. Okay. So here's this kid who's, I don't know, I guess there's a big spider coming at him, right? So providing safety and comfort. Like the way I like to think about this is, providing a comfortable place for people to just feel safe, to be themselves. Right? Where they can just relax and they don't have to worry about being judged, or they don't have to worry that they might be weird, or they might have some weird desires, or they might, whatever those things are, the things that we hide inside ourselves, right? So for me, my main practice around this one is helping people feel comfortable with who they are. Be who you want to be, as long as you don't hurt people. Be who you want to be. Right? Live the life that you want to live. Like, life's too short not to do the things you want to do. Right. And most of the time, the judgments we receive from other people is because they want to do it too. Right. Okay. Just be relaxed. Right. Now, you can't just tell people to be relaxed. So I try to, one of my practices is providing space and safety for that. Right. Okay. So I had a cockroach in the shower this morning. I didn't see it. It was like running up the side. Right. And all the water was around it. Right. It's like, oh, okay. And so I jumped out of the shower, got my whole bathroom wet, got a cup, and I picked up the cockroach, and, I removed its fear, right? It was afraid of dying, right? So like anything that can help people be free of the fears of life. We talked about animals. Animals are constantly afraid. And the third one is, here's Kareen, who lives in Singapore, I think, or Malaysia. And Kareen is giving the Dharma. All right. So I didn't ask her if I could use her photo, so I probably should. It's on Facebook, so it should be fine. Okay. Here's Kareen teaching the pen. All right. She's giving the Dharma. Don't hold on to the Dharma, guys. Do not hold on to the Dharma. I said, do not hold on to the Dharma. Okay. Teach it. Teach it to others. Please. Don't think you're the only one who should have realizations. That's dumb. Okay. Don't think you're the only special one. Make other people special. Help other people understand all of this. All right. Oh, I'm going to be the best giver in the world, but I'm not going to teach people how to give. I'm going to be the best meditator and I'm going to go see emptiness directly, but I'm not going to teach anyone how to do it, because I want people to think Tim is awesome and Tim's the best. And you should study with Tim because Tim has all these realizations, but I'm not going to teach you how to do it. That's really dumb. First of all, the cause to get those realizations is okay, is teaching. Okay, first of all. But give, right? Give stuff that you have. I used to be worried about giving stuff away, but the amount of stuff that just shows up in my house, like I can't stop stuff from, it's like I can't get, it's like it just piles in, right? So the more stuff I give away, the more stuff shows up. It's weird, right? Make people feel safe. Make beings feel safe. And good God, give them the Dharma, all right? You want to be born as a craving spirit? Don't teach. How about that? Okay. So, and what the heck? Oh my gosh, what am I doing here? Okay. I created a slide to remember to say something. Okay. So I want you guys to think about this a little bit differently. Let's not think of it as just, okay, I'm going to be living this life and then I'm going to be reborn into a next life, right? That's one way of thinking about it. And that's an okay way of thinking about it. And you should think that way. But I'd like you to get more in the habit of thinking of it as a shift of perceptions. It's a shift of your mind. Like it's a deep shift of your mind. So that when you move on from this life, is your perception shifting, right? And some of these things can start really creeping in this life as well. Like, I mean, how many people do you know that like They get so attached to their house that they never leave it. Right? Or they get so attached to a person that, they get so possessive of a person that they can't even be happy. Right? What is it like in the mind of someone who's like that? Right? And it's a shift of perceptions. Someone who can, in some ways, the weird thing about like our own desires, like you can never get enough. Like, I used to live on a little bit of money. Now I have some more money, but now I'm like, what if I had more? And I can't imagine what it was like when I didn't have any money. Like, how did I do it? Right? Of course I did it, right? It was fine. But there's always like this craving for more. We always want more. Like we want more attention. We want more love. We want more money. We want more, right? Thinking that more is going to satisfy ourselves. It's kind of a precursor to being a craving spirit, because those things can't satisfy anything. Sure, it might feel nice to get money today. Like, oh, I want more money for ACI. Why? Well, it'd be really great to hire 5 more people. We could really do a lot more things. Then we get the money for 5 more staff. Then I want 5 more staff. Then I want 5 more, right? Oh, but Tim, isn't teaching the Dharma a good thing? Yes. Wouldn't it be awesome? Yes. But how do I understand it? Right? Like, do I want more money because I'm craving it, because I desire it, or because, what's a good desire and what's a bad desire? Like you have to really pause, you have to really think through that. I'd like you guys to think about it as a shift in perceptions. And if you remember the 4 laws of karma from ACI 5, like the first thing is, like, your actions create similar results, right? If you behave in ways, whatever way you behave, the results will come out, right? An apple creates an apple. An apple doesn't create a watermelon. Okay. So if you continue to act in certain ways, you will start seeing the results of those actions. So part of our practice is to start unraveling. Most of us don't have those major problems, right? Like we're not doing the 10 bad deeds. We're not killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. We're not doing those things, right? But there's so many subtle layers to our minds that in what ways are we doing those things? And we're trying to unravel them. And why do we want to go subtle? Because of the second law of karma, which is karma grows, right? Seeds grow, right? So the subtle layers of our own mind are doing things that are creating large results in the future, right? Third law of karma is it depends how you present it. I like to present it negative first. If you don't do it, you won't get the result. So if you don't kill beings, you won't get killing results. You won't get the result of a shorter life or sickness or something like that. But if you do it, you will see the result. Okay. So try to think about these things, not so much as like, oh, this is my fixed life and there's this me who's then going to die. And then I'm going to come out as a spirit, or I'm going to come out as an animal, or I'm going to come out as a formless being, right? Think of it more as a shift of your perceptions. Like, I don't know, an implosion of a submarine. Okay. It happened so fast. I was watching a scientist comment on this, that they said that the inside of that submarine heated up to some ungodly temperature because of the increase of pressure. It just, of all the air, just, right? Immediately heated up the inside, crushed all those 5 people. They went from excited explorers, right? Gone, right? Very fast. You know, shift of perception, right? That sub went down several times before, nothing happened, right? It was fine before. Yeah, we could explain, okay, all the maybe reasons why it happened. But it's a shift of perception. Why did it happen to them in that moment? Right? The karma shifted for them. Right. So think of it as a shift of karma from one life to the next. It's just a shift of perceptions. Okay. So other causes to become a craving spirit. I call this the Ebenezer Scrooge. Okay. This is from the Christmas story, right? Charles Dickens. It's you may have seen it. He is counting every single penny that he has. He's so obsessed about everything. He barely pays his employees anything. He doesn't pay, what's that character's name? His assistant enough money to care for his son, Tiny Tim, who's sick. Okay. Can't pay him enough. He doesn't pay him enough money. Ebenezer Scrooge has plenty of money, but he keeps it for himself, right? He's stingy. He's possessive. Okay. Which is kind of the same thing as not of the 3 kinds of giving, right? You're not giving, right? This is a different way of looking at not giving, right? But it's a different feeling. Not giving is different than possessiveness. Like it just feels a little bit different. So that's another cause to be a craving spirit. And the third one is, I like this picture, jealousy. All right. This guy is jealous of the other guy, right? And he's upset about it. Okay. And jealousy is such a powerful emotion, right? We're jealous of other people's desires, right? And it can consume us so much. Consume, right? Like even, just think about people I've seen people in relationships, partners, where their jealousy of the other person's desire just destroys it, right? It just destroys them. And if you are dating a human has desires, right? We have cravings, okay? What you do with them is a different story, right? But jealousy can create so much pain and suffering, right? I'm jealous of what that person has. You mean in the picture, Alona? That's exactly why I chose that picture, because it's not clear. But when I typed in jealousy, that's one of the pictures that showed up. And I liked it because it was ambiguous. Okay. Right. Like who's jealous of whom? Right. But it's we want things. And when we can't have it and we see someone else have it, it can destroy us. Right. And I've seen relationships fall apart because, I don't know about you guys. I mean, maybe you're much better than I am. Maybe you're better people than I am. Right. But just because I'm dating someone doesn't mean my desire stops. Right? It gets focused in different places, right? But sometimes you see someone, right? And you're like, oh, that person's beautiful, right? But how do you navigate that desire? How do you navigate those seeds, right? If you're in a committed monogamous relationship, like those are things you should talk about. Like, honey, how do you feel about when I look at, I see beauty in the world, right? I don't want you to look at anyone else. Oh, so I should just sit at home and stare at the wall? Yes. Okay. I should just stare at the wall. Okay. All right. Well, that's not realistic, but, honey, but I don't want to date anyone else, but I see beauty. Don't look at them. Oh, so I should look at the ground. So I shouldn't look at people. Like I've heard these people have these conversations before, and I'm like, let's be adults about it, right? But you have to be adults about your behavior too, right? If you're just like, if you're just drooling over all these people and then you're flirting with all these, like, and you're in a committed relationship, like that doesn't make any sense, right? But I'm talking more about subtle jealousies, right? I'm talking about like jealousies where it's like your partner looks and sees someone and, just looks at people, and then you immediately assume that they want to be with that person, or they immediately, you get jealous because, oh, that person has some features that maybe you're jealous of that you want in your body, and you're insecure about yourself or something like that. I'm just talking about me, because these are all the things that go on in my mind. Okay. These are all the things that go on in my mind. I'm like, oh, well, he's much better looking than I am. Like, why are you with me? Why don't you, are you looking at them in that way? Like, our minds just create stories. They just create all these stories, right? My suggestion is communicate. Okay. Communicate, like both directions, like communicate about your own insecurities, communicate, yeah, that made me feel jealous when you did that. Oh, I didn't realize that. Then you can talk about it, right? And then you can create, then you give freedom from fear. You create security. You see, it can kind of get you out of that cycle. But jealousy is a powerful thing. Like, you're in a committed relationship, but you have a really good friend, right? And you have an emotional connection with a really good friend, right? That could create jealousies. You don't have a romantic connection with that friend. You see, like all of these weird things that people do, like the boundaries we put up around each other to protect ourselves, right? We're trying to protect ourselves, right? I don't want to feel jealousy, so I'm going to create these boundaries in our relationship. You think that's the cause to remove the jealousy? It's not, right? It's not the cause to remove the jealousy at all. Like, what is the root? What do you guys think? I suffer from jealousy, but not in normal ways. What do you guys think? What do you think is the antidote to jealousy? Sydney's answer is great. Sydney, maybe. Yeah, guys, wisdom. And what the hell does wisdom mean? Let's be more specific. Like, oh, praise others, appreciation. Being honest. Understanding that your jealousy is coming from a previous seed. Good. I like this. Maybe jealousy means different things to different people as well. Right? Lauder says maybe nothing is yours, right? That's a hard place to be, especially when you're in a relationship. Right? This is my partner. Just the words, my partner. Okay. It's good to think about this. It's really good to think about like what causes your own jealousies and possessivenesses, right? And you can still have committed relationships and have my partner as well. I just want you guys to be clear. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the emotions that arise around people. Like it doesn't, I'm just using that as an example, but we get jealous of people at the workplace. We get jealous of our friends. We get jealous of lots of things. Okay. So this is for you guys to think about. Like think about what jealousy does for you. Right? Okay, let's move on. Alona's jealous of herself. That's wonderful. Okay. All right. So what are the kinds of sufferings that these spirits can have? So one of them, as I said, was like outer obstacles. All right. They just can't get what they want. Right. There's like a fence around it. And this is my picture. Right. There's a fence around the things that you want. Like you can never get the water that you need, right? Like you get there and the water is disgusting, like it's pus and blood, or there's obstacles to get there. You want something, but you can never get it. Another kind of craving spirit is like inner obstacles. All right. This is the best picture I could find. It's so weird. Is that one of them is you're trying to eat, but your throat is incredibly small, right? So this guy has a sore throat and it's swollen up and he can't eat, right? That's what that picture is, right? He's super hungry, but he can't eat, right? So that's kind of the idea is like, you could be a being with a huge belly, but your throat is so small that you can't actually eat anything. So you never could be satisfied. And then the third one I already had mentioned to you guys is that even if you do eat or drink, that it burns the inside of you, or you're just never fulfilled. Like you could keep stuffing your belly with food, but you're never satisfied. All right. So those are the craving spirits. Does that sound like a place you want to go to? I can't wait to go. At least in this life, we can get something satisfied, I hope. Like, at least momentarily satisfied. Okay. But in those realms, you never get any kind of satisfaction at all. All right. So to avoid that, let's do some of those things. Let's work on the 3 types of giving. Let's not be possessive and stingy with what we have. Let's work on our jealousy, even our self-jealousy, Alona. Okay. Like those kinds of things. And first of all, like in this life, let's like not even worry about the next ones, right? Then this one, like that changes so much around you. How much energy do we put in to control the things that we think that we own, or things that we think are ours? My partner, my body, my work, my money, my house, my clothes, right? Anything you put the word my in front of, okay, And I'm not saying give away your partner. That's not what I said. Okay. Just checking to make sure you're not arguing with me. What I'm saying is understand how something can become yours. How does something become yours? Because it was given before. And I'm not saying you gave a partner before to get a partner. I'm just be more better about that. What does a partner provide, right? The things that you want in a partnership: love, care, safety, right? All of those things. My teacher, right? Good. How many people are attached to their teacher? My teacher. I'm going to push people out of the way so I can talk to my teacher. You ever see that happen? That's annoying. The exact opposite cause to have a teacher. You see, so anything that is mine, right? We protect it, we possess it, right? We don't understand how we got it in the first place. How did I get the money in the first place? How did I get this body in the first place? How did I get all of those things, right? Then you can understand how to keep it, right? If you want a teacher, help other people get close to their teacher. And don't be jealous when the teacher doesn't pay attention to you. The teacher doesn't pay attention to you because you didn't pay attention to other people. So running up to the teacher to get attention is not going to create the attention. Okay. You have to, these are the things, this is how we have to think through all of this, right? And the more attached we become, the more possibilities for our future lives. That's what this course is about. But you'll see those things ripen in this life too. I mean, the quickest way to lose a partnership is to have extreme jealousy. Okay. What happens when you have that? Think about it, right? So trust and companionship and safety and all that other stuff come from different seeds. So if you want a person that behaves that way, you see, if you want those kind of things, you need to have the seeds for those kinds of things, right? And then when jealousy does arise, to create trust, you have to navigate it. And Sydney likes when her partner is a little jealous. There you go. Maybe jealousy isn't always a bad thing. All right, cool, guys. So QR code time. So Lam Rim 40 something. I don't care what number it is. The Power of a Good Heart is starting next Wednesday. Okay, next Wednesday. Some of us are going. Shanti is going. I think Barbara's going to be there, right? Yes, okay. But if you're not able to make it to Mexico, it's kind of far away for many of you. You can join us online. And I really encourage you to join us, not just for Geshe Michael's classes, but also we have 9 or 10 additional classes, which are deep dive workshops into how to develop inner peace. And if you can come to that, and it does have a little bit of extra cost associated with it because we're trying to raise money for ACI. And so you guys understand that we don't charge money because we want to charge money. We charge money because everything costs money. Shanti, those classes will be available to you if you're there, so you don't have to worry about it. All of these things cost money. We try to create programming that's inexpensive for everybody, right? And we want people to come. So we have, there we go. We also have the possibility is if you're not able to join because of the money, we do have some scholarships available. We also need funding for those scholarships. Get it? If you would like to help somebody come to a retreat, you also can donate online as well. We have a couple new programs starting next year for scholarships as well, which we'll announce a little bit later. But we want you to be able to come to this. So if you would like to come and you can't afford it, let us know. If it's a stretch for you, make it an investment. This is what I always like to think. If it's a little uncomfortable, good, because then you'll pay attention because there's value to you. Okay. You know, there was someone who was like, I couldn't believe it. They were like, oh, I can't come. I don't have the money. And then I was like, wait, but where are you right now? And they're like, on a European vacation. I'm like, what? I mean, and I'm okay with, do you, like, it's not a judgment on the choices they're making. But it's an investment in you and it's an investment in the world, right? So we'd love to see you there. So thank you all for joining this class. I think I'm teaching on Monday. Is that correct? Yes, I have class 4 is on Monday. And then we're going to have a little bit of a break between Lamrim. And then I think we're kind of splitting up the course a little bit instead of having it just in one chunk, but we're kind of doing 4 classes now, and we'll be finishing later on in the summertime. So cool. Thanks for joining. Work on your jealousy, work on your possessiveness. And then I'm going to give you guys an assignment after next class so you can work more with this in between classes while we're at Lamrim. So thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and let's say goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, teacher Tim.
Gracias.
Спасибо большое.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, well, team.
Дякую, до побачення. Thank you, everyone. Спасибо всем.
Благодарю, Тим. Спасибо. Спасибо, Тим, большое.
谢谢老师，
拜，再
大家
见。
愿望吉祥。
谢谢老师，再见。
Bye, everyone.
Bye, до побачення.